Hello, hello, hello. Yep. Sorry I'm late. Had some problems with Premiere Pro. But yeah, pretty much it. I planned today for, well, it's gonna be more studying, of course, as you can see in the description, but like I planned today for just watching Heiler's history. Especially right now when the AP World History test is coming up in this Thursday actually, so
time that tells. Hi and welcome back to Heimler's History. Now in this video I'm going to show you how to understand and score well on the multiple choice section of your AP History exam. And since the format of these questions is the same across all the AP History exams, AP World History, AP US History, AP European History, you can apply everything I'm saying to any of those exams.
Questions.
So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get to it. Now in case you don't know me, my name is Steve Heimler. My job is to help you get an A in your class and a 5 on your exam in May. So if that's something you're into, then consider subscribing and come along. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing you're going to see when you open up your test book on exam day is the multiple choice section. So what you're going to see is 55 multiple choice questions, and they're going to give you 55 minutes to complete those multiple choice questions. And if you're doing the math, that's roughly 1 minute per question. So
Cap. You have to read stimuli. You're gonna have less than a minute to answer every question. I just finished a multiple choice test during world history right now, and you do not have 1 minute to do you don't have 1 minute to do one question, because you're gonna have to read stimuli, you're gonna have to understand, and you're gonna have to like comprehend what's going on, or how should I think about this. So you have like less than a minute. Yeah, it's scary.
So first, let me say something about the nature of these questions, and then I'm going to say something about the structure of these questions. First, the nature of the questions. Now, the questions that you're going to see here are not recall questions. And what I mean is you're never going to see a question that's going to ask you to recall a bare fact. For example, you're never going to see a question that asks you, in what year was the Declaration of Independence written? You're never going to see a question that asks you to define the Industrial Revolution. These kind of questions assume that you know all those facts. Now, question that asks you, in what year was the Declaration of Independence written? You're never going to see a question that asks you to define the Industrial Revolution. These kind of questions assume that you know all those facts, and they're not going to ask you to regurgitate names and dates and battles. And listen, that can be very confusing to students, because when they open up the exam, they see some questions, and there are things they've never heard of before, even though they've studied really well. So if these questions are not there to test your recall, then what are they testing? These questions are testing your ability to think and reason historically. So they're not going to ask you to define the Industrial Revolution, but they might ask you about some of the main causes of the Industrial Revolution. Causation is historical thinking. Or maybe they'll ask you about the historical context of the Industrial Revolution. Or maybe they'll ask you about things that stayed the same through the Industrial Revolution despite the massive changes that occurred. And all of those are examples of historical thinking skills that you're learning in your class and that they are going to ask you to apply in these multiple choice questions. Okay, that's the nature of the questions. Now let me say a word about the structure of the question. I said earlier that these questions are stimulus-based multiple choice questions. And a stimulus is just a document or a graph or a picture or something that you're going to have to interpret and then answer some questions about. And once you've interpreted that stimulus, there are going to be 2 to 4 multiple choice questions that ask you questions about it. And let me say one more thing about the structure. When you see the question, you'll have the question and then you'll have 4 possible responses. Now, I've talked to the people who write these questions, and here's a little inside look as to how they write those 4 responses. When you see the 4 answers, 2 of the 4 answers are obviously wrong. That's how they write them. If you know anything about the subject, you'll immediately look at those 2 answers and strike them out. If you know nothing about the subject, then those 2 answers will look just as probable as the others. Then you have the right answer. And the last of the 4 is what they call the distractor. The distractor looks kind of right. It might almost be right, but ultimately it's wrong. Now, why do the AP overlords do such things? Is it because they hate you? No, but I'm not entirely convinced they love you either. But however they feel about you, they're not in the business of just handing out 5s to anyone who takes the exam. So the format of these answers really separates those who know their stuff and those who really don't. Okay, that's enough dissection of the nature and the structure of these questions. But before I show you a couple of examples, let me show you how to improve your performance on these kinds of questions. And unfortunately, there's only one way, and that is lots of practice. Now, let me tell you a story. Now, back in my younger days when there was more hair on my head and more energy in my bones, I decided I was going to try to run a trail ultra marathon. Now, in case you don't know what an ultra marathon is, it is more than a marathon. And in my case, I was trying to run a 50K, which is about 31 miles. Now, I was well into my training for this race, and I was running about 18 to 19 miles pretty comfortably. And that's when a friend of mine, who was an ultra marathon veteran, came over and said to me, look, you don't really need to train for more than 18 to 19 miles. What you need to focus on is getting your legs stronger. So I took his advice and I stopped running as much and I started working out my legs instead. And then the day I showed up to the race, here's what happened. First few miles, feeling great. First 10 miles, feeling even better. Then I hit 17 miles and I really started to struggle. And once I hit 19, I had to drop out. Now, here's my theory on why I was unable to finish. It's not because my legs weren't strong enough. I actually think they were strong enough to finish all 31 miles. So I don't think I was physically unable to do it, but I'm sure that I was mentally unable to do it. What I didn't realize is that a race that long is just as much about your mind as your body, and that there really is no substitute for going out and putting one foot in front of the other for 31 miles in practice. The point is, you may think you can do well on these kinds of questions simply by studying content, but it is very unlikely. That's like working out your legs when really you should be out on the trail putting one foot in front of the other to get your mind ready to accomplish the task. You actually need to practice these kinds of questions so much that it actually deeply ingrains itself in you, in the format and the expectation of them, and it actually changes your instincts. And by the way, speaking of instinct, just as a side note, these questions aren't really testing how smart you are. If they were testing how smart you are, then they would give you all the time that you needed to read these documents, interpret them, and come to a satisfying conclusion. But instead, they put you under this unreasonable time pressure. And that means, hear this, that what they're actually testing is your instinct for historical thinking. And the only way to develop an instinct is to put one foot in front of the other, mile after grinding mile. Okay, so now that I've given you a mental framework for how to understand these questions, now let's look at a couple of them and see how you would answer them. First, we're going to look at one from AP World History, and then we're going to look at one from AP US History. Okay, both of these questions come from the AP World History and the AP US History course and exam description, which you can find linked below in the description. Okay, let's look at this one for AP World History. Okay, here's the stimulus, and your first instinct is going to be to start reading right there at the top, to the Most Holy Father. But stop. What you need to do first is actually to look at the source. Where is this coming from? And that's going to give you some information about how to interpret it. So this is coming from King Bela IV of Hungary, a letter to Pope Innocent IV, circa 1250. Okay, so immediately I know this is a letter. It's a letter from a king to a pope, so very powerful people, and it's happening in 1250. Okay, let's start reading. To the Most Holy Father, the Pope. Most of our kingdom of Hungary was reduced to a desert by the scourge of the Mongols' invasion. Now, we receive news every day that the Mongols have again unified their forces and will soon send their countless troops against all of Europe. We are afraid that we will be unable to withstand the Mongols' ferocity in battle unless the Pope is able to persuade other Christian rulers to send us aid to fortify our kingdom. When the Mongols invaded in 1241, we sent requests for military aid to the papacy, the Holy Roman Emperor, the King of France, and others, but from all of them we received only words of support. We, for shame, resorted to inviting the pagan Cumans into our kingdom. If, God forbid, our kingdom fell to the Mongols, the door would be opened for them to invade the other regions of the Catholic faith from the Hungarian steppes. So, the people of our kingdom cannot cease to be amazed that you offer substantial help to the Christian territories overseas, which, if they were to be lost, would not harm the inhabitants of Europe more than if our kingdom fell. Okay, we're going to look at two questions related to this stimulus. Number one, which of the following features of Europe in the period circa 1200 to 1450 most directly contributed to the fact that the King of Hungary did not receive the military assistance that he requested in 1241 as mentioned in the third paragraph? Okay, before we even get to the answers, notice this is testing your historical thinking. Look at that. Most directly contributed to. This question is testing your ability to assess causation. What caused this scenario? A, the existence of numerous feudal states that were frequently in conflict with one another. B, the development of parliaments that could check royal authority. C, the growing political power of regional trade organizations such as the Hanseatic League. D, the religious divisions of Europe into Protestants and Catholics as a result of the Reformation. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is eliminate the obviously wrong answers, and there are going to be two of them. The first obviously wrong answer is D. The Protestant Reformation didn't even occur for another 300 years after this, so that obviously cannot be right. The other obviously wrong answer answer is C. I mean, it's true that the Hanseatic League had a navy, but that was mostly employed to protect trade routes. The one that is very tempting to choose is B, the development of parliaments that could check royal authority, because those parliaments were indeed in place during this time. However, the correct answer is A. Notice that it draws our attention to the third paragraph. It talks about the Holy Roman Emperor, the King of France, and others. And so the most plausible reason that no troops were sent in support of the King of Hungary is because of the fierce competition between the feudal states during this.
But why is B wrong though? He didn't explain that. He just says it's a distractor. Okay, but why?
Time. All right, let's look at the second question. Bela IV's statement in the fourth paragraph that the Hungarian people cannot cease to be amazed by the actions of the papacy most directly refers to the papacy's failure to aid the Hungarians while A, sending missionaries to China, B, supporting Christian conquests in the Iberian Peninsula, C, initiating European military campaigns in the Middle East, or D, encouraging maritime exploration in the Indian Ocean. Okay, so this question is asking you to contextualize this little phrase, cannot cease to be amazed. What is going on in the larger story of this time that tells you what that means? Okay, again, let's start with the obviously wrong answers. D, absolutely not. Maritime exploration in the Indian Ocean is still a couple hundred years away. And A is another obviously wrong answer, sending missionaries to China. Now, they did send missionaries to China, but this is more towards the end of this period and certainly more into the next period than now. So let's choose between B and C. The one I'm tempted to choose is B, supporting Christian conquests in the Iberian Peninsula. Now, when it's talking about the Iberian Peninsula, you need to think about the modern-day state of Spain. By this time, there had been a long-standing clash between Muslims and Christians in this place. However, if you look closely at the stimulus, what the King of Hungary is concerned about is that if Hungary falls, then all of Europe will be open to Mongol conquest. So that tells me that clearly, even though he doesn't say it, he probably wouldn't object to Christian conquest in the Iberian Peninsula, since that's in Europe. So that means the correct answer is C, initiating European military campaigns in the Middle East. Okay, that was AP World History. Now let's look at one from AP US History. Okay, here's the stimulus, and again, let's start with the source. This is from the Republican Party platform in 1860. So that tells me this is a political document pre-Civil War. And here's what it says. The normal condition of all the territory of the United States is that of freedom, that as our Republican fathers, when they had abolished slavery in all our national western territory, ordained that no person should be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, it becomes our duty by legislation, whenever such legislation is necessary, to maintain this provision of the Constitution against all attempts to violate it. And we deny the authority of Congress, of a territorial legislature, or of any individuals to give legal existence to slavery in any territory of the United States. Okay, so the first question says this. Which of the following best serves as evidence for the claim that our Republican fathers had abolished slavery in all our national territory? So the historical thinking skill that they're asking you to perform here is to support a claim with evidence. Okay, so which of these pieces of evidence could be used to support the Republican Party platform that no slavery should exist? A, the ban on the transatlantic slave trade implemented in 1808. B, the relationship of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson to slavery. C, the provisions of the Northwest Ordinance regarding slavery. D, the agreement to count 3/5 of enslaved people for representation in Congress. Okay, so I see two immediately wrong answers. D is immediately wrong. The agreement to count 3/5 of enslaved people for representation in Congress, that cannot be used to support the idea that slavery ought not exist. The other obviously wrong answer is B, the relationship between George Washington and Thomas Jefferson to slavery. Now, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson both owned slaves, and it's true that their relationship to slavery was a little complicated. They both thought the institution ought to be abolished, but they didn't really do anything about it. So that definitely can't be used to support the Republican Party platform. The distractor is A, because it kind of sounds true. It can definitely be used to say that slavery is a bad thing. But it's wrong, because the ban of the transatlantic slave trade had nothing to do with abolishing slavery in the territories, certainly not in the Western territories. So
I guess what he's saying is banning trade doesn't necessarily ban slavery in all throughout America. So yeah, I think the strategy here is just process of elimination. Don't look for the right answer, look for all the wrong answers.
The right answer is C, the provisions of the Northwest Ordinance regarding slavery. Okay, let's look at the next one. The ideas expressed in the excerpt were most directly influenced by A, the nativist movement, B, the free soil movement, C, Texas independent movement, D, the temperance movement. All right, it's hard for me to find a distractor here because there are three answers that are really obviously wrong. D, the temperance movement. That didn't happen until way after the time period we're talking about.
I don't know any of these movements.
C. The Texas Independence Movement. The Texans fiercely defended slavery, so that clearly can't be used to support the Republican Party platform.
that's
And maybe
true.
A is the distractor, the nativist movement, because if you don't know what that is, that might look right. But the nativist movement had everything to do with the fear of those who are not like us, and therefore to promote the white race. So the answer is obviously B, the Free Soil Movement. All right, that's how you do stimulus-based multiple choice questions on the AP.
Okay. Let's practice AP World multiple choice.
At that point, that's all I need to know. Let's look at the first
Oh,
question.
what happened to the
trait
audio?
described in this passage is best seen as an early example of which of the... Okay, you asked for it, so let's do it. Let's practice some AP World History multiple choice. Question. Now, I'm not going to read this. Okay, you asked for it, so let's do it. Let's practice some AP World History multiple choice questions. Now, I'm not going to read the stimuli attached to these questions for you, but when they pop up on the screen, you can pause it, or you can download this, which is a practice exam published by the College Board. Link is in the description. All right, let's jump into the first set of questions. Now, the first thing you want to do with any stimulus-based multiple choice questions, look at the attribution first. It's going to give you a lot of
captions.
information for answering these questions, and you can't afford to
Opium
skip. Here I
trade.
see this stimulus is about the...
Okay, here's the problem though, because like in the beginning, there's like about 8 to 10% of the test is gonna be about like very ancient stuff, like caveman brain, hominoids, and Australopithecus and whatnot. And they're not gonna make any documents there. So the people who are gonna be writing the documents are actually the people who are the historians that are researching said hominids and caveman people. So the caption won't really do much good other than like kind of set the setting, but otherwise it's not going to be that useful. But in this case, this is 1836 of the opium trade, which will eventually lead to the opium war between British and China. So yeah.
The opium trade in a letter to a British magazine from an anonymous English merchant in China, and was published in 1836. Now, if you know what you need to know from class, you know something already about the opium wars and the opium trade, but what I want to emphasize here is that it is from an anonymous English merchant. And that's important because already I know that if somebody is publishing something anonymously, it's probably because they don't want to be known, and that means they're probably going to be critical of whatever it is they're talking about. And I'm right. If you go ahead and read this merchant is very critical of the opium trade in China. He says it's immoral, but it is highly profitable. At that point, that's all I need to know. Let's look at the first question. The trade described in this passage is best seen as an early example of which of the following. Now, you need to make sure to mark up these questions, because remember, when you're under pressure, you are dumber than you think. So you need to make sure that all your thinking is happening outside your brain. So here I want to underline best seen. When you see language
I
like
hope we
that,
can
it's a
write
pretty
on the
good
test.
indication that everything that comes next
Does
is
anyone know
probably going
if
to
we
be
can write on a test or
factually
not?
accurate, but you're looking for the one that best describes the answer. So is it A, the economic decline of Asian states resulting from the importation of cheap consumer goods from Europe? And that one is not factually accurate. Asian states are not importing goods from Europe at this point, which is the whole point of the opium trade. They're trying to reestablish the balance of trade. Or is it B, the growing economic influence of European immigrants in China? There's lots of European immigrants going a lot of places, but China is not one of them. Or is it C, the declining political power of European joint stock companies in Asia because of states assuming direct imperial control? And that's a mighty tasty one and very tempting, because that is what's happening in India. The joint stock companies are losing control, and the British imperial government is coming in to have direct control, and that's part of what's going on.
I remember
a
that.
large part of what's going on in the opium trade. But that is not the best example. It's not the most direct connection, because the most direct connection is D, the use of economic imperialism by European merchants and states. When you think of Britain and China during this time, economic imperialism is the term to remember, and so D is the correct answer. Next question is D, direct control, and that's part of what's going on, and a large part of what's going on in the opium trade. But that is not the best example. It's not the most direct connection, because the most direct connection is D. The use of economic
imperialism by European merchants and states. Well, let's listen again.
control. And that's a mighty tasty one and very tempting, because that is what's happening from the importation of cheap.
Very sorry, that was my mom. Let's continue.
Consumer goods from Europe. And that one is not factually accurate. Asian states are not importing goods from Europe at this point, which is the whole point of the opium trade.
Wait, what's the passage again? Pass. Okay. Importing arsenic. Okay, no, that's a chemical compound. Into England. Harmless foreign fashionable luxury. Imagine after a few years arsenic being all the rage. I never knew they used that kind of terminology. With hundreds of thousands using it, British government were to ban its use because of bad effects. Okay. Finally, imagine that in opposition to this ban on arsenic, Chinese ships were to be positioned off the coast of England, making occasional raids on London. Advocates of the opium smuggling profession argue that it's immensely profitable and that supplying opium in bulk as they are doing is not immoral and not only becomes vulgar, and opium is sold in too small portions to individual users. What admirable logic with which one may shield oneself when reality is satisfied that the opium trade is nothing more than supplying an important source of revenue to British companies operating in India. Trade may be a profitable one, it may be of importance to the Indian government and to the individuals, but to pretend that it can be defended by harmless to health and morals is arguably impossible. Okay. So I think why he said he picked D was where is it?
Direct imperialism.
Why he picked D? Because of spheres of influence, not because of actual imperialism and colonization. I think this looks like a pretty hard one. But I think it's not C because joint stock companies did not have much effect on China, so.
In the early 19th century by supporters of the continued use of, hold on. Okay, we're talking about the second paragraph. I'm going to underline most similar because it's the same kind of thing that we saw in the last question, and I'm going to underline the time period, early 19th century. In a healthy amount of cases, the answers that you find in these questions are going to be wrong precisely because they are outside the time period that they're asking
Okay, yeah,
about.
I said that before.
I underline the time period to make sure I have it in my mind. Okay, what this question is asking me to do is to take the argument and the stimulus and say, what other argument is that most like? So what is he saying in the stimulus? He's saying that the opium trade is immoral.
That was my dad. Let's move on.
But highly profitable. So what other argument is like that? Is it artisanal and
Oh my
craft
god, my
production?
Adam's apple is so big. Why do I have one but other people don't really? Mine's like sticking out like crazy.
As opposed to the factory system? I mean, no, that's not immoral. It is.
Okay, anyway,
trade
where are
is
we?
immoral, but highly profitable. So what
highly
other
profitable.
argument is like that? Is it artisanal and craft production as
No.
opposed to the factory system? I mean, no, that's not immoral. It is productive and it is profitable, but not immoral. Is it mercantilist trade practices
No.
as opposed to free trade? Again, that's outside.
Well, let's try this by ourselves. Merciless trade practices. No, they were both okay. African slave labor. Okay, that was definitely immoral. And eventually be abolished. Women children's labor is also immoral. In production of luxury goods. But we have to look at the time period. I don't think women's rights was established back then. So I'm thinking maybe C.
Time period, but it's not immoral. Is it women and children's labor in the production of luxury goods in Chinese households? Ooh, women's and children's labor. That could be immoral. Is it highly profitable? Well, yeah. But remember, you have to think about it in the context of the time period. In that time period, women's labor, children's labor, not considered immoral. Or is it African slave labor on sugar plantations in the Americas? Was African slave labor immoral? Yeah, there was a lot of debate over that. Was it highly profitable? Yeah, so the answer is C. Okay, now let's look at the second set of questions, and for that we have a new stimulus. Here we have two sources, and we're going to start with the attribute.
Let's read. I have long dreamed of buying an island owned by no nation whatsoever and establishing the world headquarters of the Dow Company there, on a truly neutral ground of such an island, beholden to no nation or society. If we are located on such truly neutral ground, we could then operate in the United States as US citizens, in Japan as Japanese citizens, and in Brazil as Brazilians, rather than being governed primarily by the laws of the United States. We could even pay any native workers handsomely to move elsewhere. Then the caption, Gerstacker, chairman of the Dow Chemical Company, a US corporation, speech before the White House in 1972. Source 2, I was asked the other day about the United States' competitiveness in the world economy. I replied that I don't think about it at all. We at NCR... what is that? I guess it doesn't matter. We at NCR think of ourselves as a globally competitive company that happens to be headquartered in the United States. Williamson, president of the corporation, US tech company, 1989. Okay.
Contributions on both. This is a United States corporation. It's a speech before the White House, and it happens in 1972. This one is another United States corporation. It happens in 1989. So if you read through these, what you're going to find is that there are two stimuli about the desire for large corporations to be without regulation in the globalized economy. So first question based on that. The views expressed in the two passages were most directly enabled by which of the following economic trends in the late 20th century?
Okay. Economic trends. So the first one was talking about the Dow Company and about how we can live in neutral ground as citizens of our own representative country. And so A, many defeated countries in the Second World War received generous economic assistance. Not exactly, I don't think. But actually it's kind of true. But it doesn't really fit the context of the two passages. B, governments in newly independent post-colonial states sought to limit their country's economic reliance on the former colonial powers. I don't think that has anything to do with the thing at all, either. The governments of many developed Western countries adopted policies of economic liberalization and deregulation. Yeah. Governments in Asia cooperated with private businesses in an effort to maximize exports and acquire foreign currencies from Europe and the United States. Oof, can't tell. Let me read this again. Economic trends. So we have 1972 and 1989. So it could not be A because that's way out of the time frame. They ended that was like 1950s. This is 1970s, 1980, 1980s, 1990s. And then B, governments in newly independent post-colonial states limit their country's economic reliance on the former colonial powers. I guess somewhat. I can kind of see a correlation. See, the governments of many developed Western countries adopted policies of economic liberalization and deregulation. It's accurate, historically accurate, but I don't think it fits the context. D, governments in Asia cooperated with private businesses in an effort to maximize exports and acquire foreign currencies from Europe and the United States. Nah, it's probably B. I'm probably wrong. It might be B. C might be the distractor.
Underline most directly enabled, economic trends, and late 20th century. That's going to keep me on target. So this is a causation question. So which of these answers is going to cause the reality that we see in these stimuli? Is it many of the defeated countries of the Second World War received generous economic assistance from the United States after the war? That's of course referring to the Marshall Plan, and it doesn't have anything to do with the globalized nature of corporations, so no.
Yeah.
Governments in newly independent post-colonial states sought to limit their country's economic reliance on former colonial powers. They did that, but it has nothing to do with American corporations globalizing
Bitch.
Corporations wanting less regulation. That has more to do with American corporations, globalized corporations wanting less regulation. That has more to do with decolonization. It's a different thing. Ooh, D looks nice. Governments in Asia cooperated with private businesses
yeah, it was
to
C.
maximize exports
C
and
was
acquire
right.
foreign currencies from Europe and the United States. Again, that one sounds really nice and it talks about more of a globalized economy, but the stimulus is about United States corporations wanting deregulation in the global market. So it can't be D, it's got to be C. The governments of many developed Western countries adopted policies of economic liberalization and deregulation. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, next question. The corporate philosophy reflected in the two passages most directly contributed to which of the following?
The corporate philosophy reflected in the two passages most directly contributed to which of the following? No, not A. Not really B. Not C. Not D. Oh my god, what the heck is it? Passage again. The philosophy. So for the first passage, first passage, the philosophy was that to go on a uncharted, or not uncharted, but like an island that's not owned by a nation, as said on the top. I paused, go back a little bit. On truly neutral ground of such an island. 510. On truly neutral ground of such an island, beholden to no nation or society. If we were located on such truly neutral ground, we could then operate in the United States as US citizens, in Japan as Japanese, and Brazil as Brazilians. So this like pro. It's like this is for like colonizing into non-nationalized territory. Then source 2 is about the NCR being a globally competitive company. So I think they might be different or something. Not sure. B, maybe. The shift of manufacturing capacity from the post-industrial countries of the West to the new manufacturing centers in Asia and Latin America. So one, it can't be A. Can't be... Actually, it could be C. A or C. No, B or C. B or C. Actually, I think it's C. I'm gonna final answer C.
Most directly contributed. So what is the...
Here's what I think. Because look at the first source, it says actually I don't know anymore.
Most direct cause of these globalized corporations wanting deregulation? Is it A, the inability of the Soviet planned economy to compete successfully with the economies of the United States and other Western countries? Now be careful here. That is true. The Soviet planned economy wasn't able to compete successfully with the United States and other Western countries. But that didn't cause globalized corporations to want deregulation. Is it the passage of stronger measures to safeguard workers and consumers' rights in many developed countries?
I was right.
That sounds like
I was right.
To me, and what they are wanting is no regulation. Corporations to want deregulation. Is it the passage of stronger measures to safeguard workers and consumers' rights in many developed countries? No, that sounds like regulation to me, and what they are wanting is no deregulation. Is it increased popular hostility toward economic migrants and migrations in many countries? And if you're not under the pressure of an exam, like you're going to look at that and say, what? That's totally irrelevant. Or is it the shift of manufacturing capacity from the post-industrial
Yeah, I was like,
countries
it
of the
can't be
West
like,
to
what does that have
new
to do with
manufacturing
anything?
centers in Asia and Latin America? And yes, that's the answer. One of the most direct causes of globalized corporations and the way that they operate was the shift in manufacturing from their own countries into Asia and Latin America. So here are 4
Okay.
takeaways. Number 1, you need to study within the context of the time period.
Context of the time
You see,
period.
a lot of the answers that we looked at were wrong because they were outside the time period, not because they were factually wrong. So make sure you know what people, what events, what historical developments happened in what time period. That is going to help you a lot. Number 2, always read the attribution first. It's going to give you a ton of information.
Okay.
In some cases, you can answer the
captions.
question without even reading the stimulus if you've read the attribution. Third, mark up the question. Remember, I am dumber than I think when the pressure is on, and that is going to help keep you focused. And fourth,
So I'm
just
guessing
remember,
maybe we can't write on the AP test.
only need like a 55-ish% correct on the multiple choice in order to get yourself to a passing exam grade. And of course, that supposes you're doing okay on the other sections as well. But the point is, you don't have to stress like your life is over. Like, it's gonna be okay. Now, the next thing you need to do is practice your writing. And these videos right over here are going to help you do that. So enjoy. I will see you around. Heimler out.
Okay. Let's go back here. Let's go to this like someplace random. Oh, there's a unit test right here. 9 questions, total 60 minutes. Yeah, whatever. Okay, let's try this. Read the passage below and answer the question. Now these words which are upon the silver tablet are for the land of Kita, the Hittite Empire, and for the land of Egypt. As for him who shall not keep them, to get thousands of gods of the land on Kita, and 1,000 gods from the land of Egypt shall desolate his house, his hand, and his subjects. Now as for him who shall keep these words upon the silver tablet. Oh yeah, read the thing. Exit from a peace treaty. BCE. Peace treaties? Huh, interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know caveman people from the BCE could wager peace. And they shall not devise against them. The 1,000 gods of the land of Kita, together with the 1,000 gods of the land of Egypt, shall preserve his health and his life. Okay. This treaty was, okay, 1259 BCE, a peace treaty. This treaty was most directly a result of which of the following developments? So, okay, for one, we cannot not see, I think, because although it does mention silver, it just mentions that this treaty was written on a silver tablet. So this is a result. So that means a causation question. So I think it could be A. They did like war. They did like fire around resources because you know back then their civilizations were growing, so they needed more resources. B, yeah, that's also wrong answer. I think D and A, because their reliance on writing and record keeping, they had to keep record of the treaty so that they can remember that, you know, peace. So could be D, but it could also be A. Oh, okay. Actually, no. D is a distractor because the record keeping is very important, which will result in keeping treaties. However, this treaty, which means the overall context of the treaty itself, not about writing treaties. So I think it's A. Yep. Yeah, I was right. These two were wrong. Okay, there. Oh, a picture. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit. That felt good. I don't know why. because I don't usually get these right. I'm really nervous when it comes to the multiple choice questions. So hello. I see there's another person watching because I'm watching. Well, I'm watching myself because I only have one monitor on my main, so I'm using my MacBook as like a stream manager. So yeah. So hello, other person who's watching right now. A standard of from Mesopotamia, circa 2600 BCE. Okay, depicts food like fish and grain being carried by farmers and fishermen, or soldiers carrying war booty. I don't know why they say it like that. Seated dignitaries, whatever the heck that is. A lyre instrument player, a singer, and a king. This mosaic can be used as evidence of which of the following in ancient Mesopotamia. So you have egalitarianism over social hierarchy. There's a lot of terms I need to like study up on, because I don't remember what egalitarianism is. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. So 2. Ziggurats and monumental architecture and art. C. Artistic representations of legal codes. And D. Increasing specialization of labor. So could this be a parade? So it says this art depicts food being carried by farmers and the king. So it could be a social hierarchy. I don't know what egalitarianism is, but I do know what social hierarchy is. B, I don't know why. C, also know why. D is also D. Okay, A and D again, because A includes social hierarchy, and D also includes a type of social life because the specialization of labor among social classes. So let me see. Valuing egalitarianism over a social hierarchy. Oh no, what is that? I forgot. I'm gonna YOLO it. D. Oh, I guess I'm right. Okay, what is this? Did have a social hierarchy, probably because of the surplus food, which led to people specializing in different jobs. Really? Outside of fruit production. Oh, that makes sense. Because surplus food. They have food now, so they don't need farmers as much, so they went over to other jobs to specialize in. Yeah, that's historical thinking right there. Some of the jobs were more highly... Okay, that makes sense. See, look, all these guys here, all these... I don't know what these guys are. I don't know what these guys are. I know what this guy is. He's obviously a king, and he's in a higher level, so yeah. Food surplus, okay. Next. Oh wow. I really do wish that the AP test can have like these short passages or pictures, because that would save me a lot of time to review and see if I got some stuff wrong. Okay, this is not going to be part of it. Excerpt from Rig Veda, Book 10, Hymn 12. Around us is the Dasyu, rightless, voice of sense inhuman, keeping alien laws, baffle you slayer of the foe for the weapon which the Daza wields. What the heck is that? Vedic text. Okay, this is ancient India. Oh, I guess it said Veda right here, so maybe that'll give a hint. The ideas expressed in this passage are best understood in the context of which of the following? You think this has to do with religion? Because it has a bunch of weird stuff. Dasyu, rightless, void of sense, inhuman, keeping alien laws. Sounds pretty religious to me. Otherworldly sentient beings. Of the foe, the weapon which Dasa wields. I don't know how long I'll stream for. So it could be this one, because it does involve religion. Indo-European migration to northern India? That makes no sense. Religious challenges to social hierarchy? I don't know how this includes what this has to do with social hierarchy, so I think it's C. A? So is it B? It's A. It's D? Why? So it's not C because monotheism is likely to develop along the Hebrews in the Middle East. Oh my god! The ancient Indians were polytheistic! And then religious challenges to social hierarchy? Okay, I was like, it's not that. Codification of laws based on Vedic texts? Or religious texts rather than laws. Also, the use of law in this passage refers to the laws that are original in this valley inhabitants. Wait, what law? So, this is the context that makes the most sense when understanding the conflict described. Indo-Europeans who migrated to India wrote the Vedas. Okay, they're more likely describing conflicts with the people already living there. I need a bit of time to think about that, because that doesn't really make sense to me. Okay, let's repeat this again. This is the context that makes the most sense when understanding the conflict described. Indo-Europeans who migrated into India, okay, I can't remember that, wrote the Vedas. Okay, I don't know that. I guess I remembered something. And are most likely describing conflicts with the people already living there. Okay. Is this during Harappan and Mohenjo-daro society and era? Okay, I guess I just didn't know. Eurasian steppe. Nice font. It sucks. The power and the presence of the great I am. Great I am. Okay. Anyway, this image best conveys which of the following interactions between humans and their environment starting in the Neolithic era. Okay, Neolithic people or humans in the steppes. So the steppes are like very flat and grassy. So pursuit of a hunting foraging style in the grasslands. Okay, it makes sense. The Silk Road Alliance, that is way out. Silk Road didn't even come around in the Neolithic era. Developed pastoralism in grasslands? Not really. They weren't really suited for farmland. Mass migration out of the steppe, which couldn't support cultivation. That makes a lot of sense. But A or D again? Bro. Let's see, what was the map variation step? Okay, there is really no caption. Let's see, how long I've been streaming? Oh. Once I hit my 1 hour mark, I think I'll just head up. Because after this, I am done for. I still need to brush my teeth. I'll try my best to come back and stream tomorrow. Because I might not stream on Wednesday. The image best conveys which of the following interactions between humans and their environment. So maybe it's D, because hunting and forage, because I think the mass migration the mass migration due to not being able to support cultivation better conveys the humans and their environment as compared to pursuit of hunting and foraging lifestyle. So it's neither of them. Do this anymore. Oh. Let's get back to Alright, let's read. The step can support sustained cultivation. Okay, that was what is said in the last question or answer. But could support seasonal pastures of grasslands. Okay, pastoralism. Oh, I forgot what that meant. I remember now. Yo, yeah, it's not A. It was not A. Yep. So different time period. And although step can support cultivation of farmland, it could support the domesticating and herding of animals. Oh, okay. So we're too good, too bad. So what the? I didn't press anything. The son of heaven, the emperor. Okay, that sounds like Chinese. Yeah, Chinese roti. The son of heaven, which is indicating the mandate of heaven. The emperor mounts his jade carriage drawn by dragon-like foes, on which is displayed the great standard with the likeness of sun and moon upon it, along which dragons ascending and descending. In this, the emperor goes to worship the sun outside the east gate. Okay, no one asked. The Book of Etiquette and Ceremonial. Okay, this is one of the books. There's the Book of Rites, the Book of Songs, and there's the Book of Etiquette. Yeah. Probably composed between the 8th and 5th centuries BCE. The book describes rules and rituals related to Chinese royalty. Okay, the description of the role of the ruler given in this passage differed most strongly from rulers in which of the following. I think it's classical Athens. They were ruled by democracy. Yeah. They did not have a monarchy, and the power of the leaders were tied to their ability to represent the citizens. Okay, this is a no-brainer. I did not need any brain for this. You just need to remember. Alright, we're 3 and 2. Read the passage before answering the question. Okay. I need something to fidget on. Got some badminton birdies that parent spot. I wrote my name on them. Okay, knowing how to use fire may help the humans. Hey, this one looks familiar. I felt like I did this before. I probably shouldn't be doing that. Wonder how they make these anyway. Wait. Knowing how to use fire may help the early humans who have left Africa 50k to 60k years ago to cope with colder conditions in Europe. It may have also given them a big advantage over the residential Neanderthals they encountered. By 3,500 years ago, the Neanderthals, a subspecies, were mostly extinct. The following claims about human migration to Europe would this passage provide evidence for? Modern humans were only able to migrate Europe because they mastered fire. Yeah. Oh wait, we did this one on last stream. So it was this one because fire was an advantage that they didn't use as a weapon against it, so it's not D. But they did use it to replace the Neanderthals. That's why they went extinct. Oh my god. One second, let me... Alright. Image of the scorpion mace head dated to 3100 BCE. The image shows an Egyptian ruler holding a hoe and standing near a canal. Sorry, children. I think what would happen if Uncle Roger did a gaming live stream, like as a streamer? Okay, I'm not trying to be racist, but hi, what that guy doing? Where's his walk? Where the walk? Anyway, Egyptian ruler holding a hoe and standing near a canal. Scene depicted in the mace head. Okay, let's look at it here. Bunch of intricate details. Is okay. Remember, Egyptian, 3100 BCE. The scene depicted in the mace head above is most directly the result of which of the following developments. Okay, it's creating pottery. Wait, a mace head. So it's a formal weapon. So okay. Anyway, A, altering the environment to improve agricultural production. Yeah, it could. Controlling the environment to demonstrate the ruler's power over nature. That makes sense, because look at the caption. Egyptian ruler holding a hoe. I can't. A hoe to and standing near canal. So he's manipulating the environment or controlling it, and the ruler, and it's a ruler doing it, so the ruler's power over nature. So it could be B. C, create new waterways for travel and trade. Not really. It's D, reducing violence. No, it's not. Okay, I don't. It's probably A. B. It's not B. Maybe it's A. Okay. We're man-made, not... Okay. Does appear larger than the other people in the image, but there's no indication that he is superior to nature. Okay. I'm just being dumb. Ruler is so good. Okay. You know what my thought process was? The pharaoh is all powerful. You know, like, unlike China, who thinks the emperor is a son of God, people thought that the pharaoh was a literal god, so, you know, pharaoh supremacy and whatnot, so he has power over everything. Also, we know that ancient societies typically viewed nature as a powerful force that they couldn't control. They did? Oh yeah, the Nile. They worship the Nile. I remember reading that from King Chronicles from Rick Riordan. So long the words the canals make to improve agriculture. Okay, that makes sense. That was my bad. Okay, a bunch of hieroglyphic. Oh, this is Shang Dynasty. Shank Dynasty. I will shank my enemies. The image above shows an engraved ox shoulder blade. Okay, this could be those oracle bones thing. 1600 BC. Okay. So also BCE, I think, in China, because before Christ. This archaeological artifact can be best used as evidence for which of the following features for writing in early civilizations. Writing for record keeping, I think it was this one. Remember I said earlier, oracle bones, where they use bones for prophetic reasons. They would write stuff in it, and then they would crack it up, or they would crack. So it could be. I think it might be C. But anyway, let's look at the other ones. Keep facilitating trade. Not really. Legal codes. Too early. Writing standard vocations, labor specialization. Yeah. Yep, I knew it. This is an example of an oracle bone. And oracle bone. Oh, they also oracle bone. Yeah, that's an example of an oracle bone. That one's very knowledge based. Those are I'm better at, but historical thing I need to work on that. Okay, last one. We're 5 and 3 right now. Let's make it 6-3. Dates before present in calendar years of achievement of plant intensive hunting and gathering and agriculture in different regions adapted from. Oh, this is censored domestication. Okay, this is old. That's why some guy in 2001 wrote it. Which is okay, so we have Near East, intensive foraging. Okay, what's the units here? Like the amount of years? Calendar years, okay. Which of the following most likely explains the rise of agriculture in these different regions? Syncretism or blending of diverse. No, that was very later on, so I don't think so. B. Migration and adaptation due to environmental changes. Nah. C. Wait, it could be. I don't know. Okay, hold on, let me think again. Migration and adaptation due to environmental changes. Not really. Is it? Let's go back to it. See, early hominid and Neanderthal cooperation. There's no evidence that they cooperated. If like we go back to the other question, they got displaced by the. Actually, no, it could be. I don't know. D. Spread agricultural technology through trade routes. I feel like that's too early. I feel like that's way too early. Because they're still foraging, so it cannot be D. Cannot be A, so it has to be B or C. And my guess is B. Because as the environment changed, or okay, here's what I'm thinking. Near East, what does that mean? Just like Europe-ish? Okay, B or C? Migration and adaptation due to environmental changes. And early hominid and Neanderthal cooperation. There's no evidence of that, so I think it might be B. Let's go! Okay. We're 6 and 3. Agriculture became a more viable form of food production when the ground warmed sufficiently for people to be able to plant crops. Agriculture emerged independently in a variety of regions that people migrated to over time, such as Mesopotamia, the Near East, and the Andes. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of thinking this. Like, they wouldn't cooperate because they got displaced. No, this one, agriculture developed independently in many regions that didn't have access to one another. Yeah. I was like, oh, so I guess they did have trade routes, but agriculture it was not as prominent in some areas compared to others. Then syncretism was the primary reason that agriculture would thrive in these areas. Yeah, syncretism and agriculture don't really have much correlation. Agriculture emerged independently. Okay. That's pretty good. Okay, Neolithic Revolution and birth of agriculture in Asia. Okay. Okay. I'm done with the con. I'm not doing anymore. But before that, I want to do one final thing. So I'll pull it up. it's an LEQ. Thought you guys should want to look at it, because on a few weeks ago when my teacher graded it, I got a 6 out of 6 on it, so which is good because not a lot of people get the complexity point. If I could just find it. Runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails, never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. Cover up some stuff. You know, after the AP test, I might just start doing more streams just for fun and doing other homework. And so I'm gonna have to start making like new backgrounds and animated titles and transitions to just, you know, improve quality of life on this channel. So yeah. Alright. LEQ number 4. Let's increase the... Okay. So the prompt was... Oh, I should probably pull up the prompt somewhere. Right. Maybe see if I can still find it. Because since the LEQ, I didn't really receive the prompt. Love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love never fails and never gives up, never runs out on me. Your love. Your love. Okay. LEQ number 4. Here, hold a second. I'm going on my MacBook to edit this, so let's go all the way down here. Okay, I guess I'm gonna type it up. I can't copy and paste. It's so stupid. Alright. In the... What the? In the period 1900 to... I'm typing word for word. 2001. People and states around the world. Actually, I'll just type on here. So why am I deleting everything? Around the world adopted political whatever, such as communism, fascism, or nationalism, to challenge the existing... Oh wait, hold on a second. Wait, oh wait, I don't know. Wait, is that bad? Is that bad for my stream? Because it has the Germany word thing, the World War II Germany word. Okay, hold on a second. I hope that's not bad. I heard like people will like freak out about it, about like accidentally seeing the sign even though it's not intended. Monka S. Monka S. What am I doing? Xenophobic. I think that's all of it. Anyway, yeah, I hope that's all of it. That's a lot. I wrote a lot because that was my main topic. It was a good topic, you have to admit. Challenge the existing political and slash or social order. Develop and okay, this is important. Develop an argument that evaluates evaluates how one or more of these political ideologies challenge the existing political and slash or social order. Right. In the period 1900 to 2001, people in states around the world adopted political and or social order, or adopted political ideologies such as communism, fascism, or nationalism to challenge the existing political and or social order. Develop an argument that evaluates how one or more of these political ideologies challenge the existing political and or social order. Alright, so here we have the LEQ. So here is my context. During the period 1900 to 2001. Okay, so first things first, you have 6 points. 1 for contextualization, 1 for the thesis, 2 for your evidence, 2 for, and then 1 for your analysis, and 1 for your complexity, the hardest point to get. During the period 1900 to 2001, so that is my context. During the period 1900 to 2001, the rise of major ideologies brought about the major events that are considered the most infamous periods in history ever, such as World War I and World War II. And I still have like that essay thing from English, so I decided to put in a rhetorical question to it. How exactly did these ideologies challenge both the political or social order? The most famous and prominent ideology, the German one, challenged the political and social order through the intentional breaking of treaties and the extreme persecution of Jews as well as other races. The challenging of the political order by Germany under, you know what, greatly surprised the world when Adolf Hitler, okay, I had to italicize my my evidence, and also, as you can tell, I underlined my reasoning. When Adolf Hitler, I hope that name's not banned. That should not be banned. I still hate Hitler though. Like, what the heck, man? You're crazy. You're a psychopath. You're genocidal. When Adolf Hitler started militarizing Germany to launch an invasion across Europe. Prior to World War II, the Treaty of Versailles was signed regarding the defeat of Germany during World War I. So this one kind of adds also a bit of context because I am describing the events before. That would limit its army to about 10,000 troops and limit its industrialized war machines such as zeppelins, fighter planes, and submarines. This alone is a lot of evidence, so I already got the guaranteed point. However, Hitler was extremely loyal to Germany, desired revenge, and soon power with the you-know-what party. Eventually, Hitler will start World War II. What happens to my capitalization? Okay, remember, if you're gonna do appealing or appealing capitalization punctuation, super important. In this case, not as important. Hitler's breaking of the Treaty of Versailles symbolized a new kind of resistance, as treaties were meant to keep order and peace after conflict as well as maintain honor. Hitler's next act that would shock the world even further would be the signing of a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union under Joseph Stalin. This surprised the world because the Soviets initially were part of the Triple Entente with France and Britain. Ironically, Hitler would break another agreement. So this is kind of like complexity, because I'm saying that Hitler not only broke one agreement, the Treaty of Versailles, but another agreement, the Non-Aggression Pact, and invade Russia. This proved to be a big mistake, as Russia's extremely cold climate and industrial power would end Hitler's dreams of eastward expansion. Hitler has broken multiple treaties during World War II, symbolizing resistance that baffled many people around the world. However, you know what does not end there. The you-know-who were extremely xenophobic, which also symbolized a major aspect of the reign of the you-know-what. The you-know-what turned their attention towards the What is wrong with me? Disabled, sick Jewish people, as well as Roma gypsies, and immediately began the persecution that will lead to extermination, evidently shown in the Holocaust. Xenophobia was a sign of fascism that eventually evolved into you-know-what in Germany, therefore explaining the Nazis. I'm gonna go sleep soon. Hitler additionally extended his Jewish xenophobia towards the ally Italy, who was also led by fascist dictator Benito Mussolini, asking for him to hand over any Jews to clean Europe. This also showed how you-know-what challenged the social order by extending his influence over Europe in order to purge Europe of Jews. These atrocious acts from you-know-what eventually led to the genocide of 5.7 million Jews. Oh, I probably should use that for evidence as well, which will forever stain the pages of history. The political and social order of you-know-what greatly challenged the world, as they done what no nation dared to achieve, which was, breaking treaties. Fortunately, the world won't have to experience such an atrocious event again. I hope. Yeah, that is my LEQ that earned me a 6. So, again, you have the contextualization. So, that at the thesis. Oh my god, I forgot highlighting will show part of the word. I'm such a bad streamer. Greatly surprised the world when, okay, I started the topic sentence. And then I started immediately with the evidence when he started militarizing Germany against the Treaty of Versailles. This symbolized a new kind of resistance, as treaties were meant to keep order and peace, as well as honor. So that is, well, because that gives me my second point of the evidence, because 1, you just need evidence, 2 points to be exact, but you always want to add more just in case 1 point doesn't work. And 2, for the second point, you need to give an explanation. Like the ACE format, give an explanation to your evidence and how it correlates back to the thesis. Then your analysis and reasoning is example causation and causation, continuities, comparisons, changes. So I think where was that again? So Hitler's loyalty to Germany and his made him desire revenge and then assume power with the party. So I think that counts as a causation. And there's a number of others that I said also. Then I think I said the complexity already because of this one. Hitler's next act would shock the world by signing the non-aggression pact. And then ironically, Hitler would break another agreement. So he broke not one but two. So that earns a complexity point. Then I kept going, and oh my god. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So this is a perfect, well maybe it's not perfect, but it gets the point because the AP World History test, well I think also the APUSH and AP Euro is graded based off a positive point system. So it doesn't matter how much bad stuff you got in there, as long as you got the right stuff, you get the point for it. Unlike math, no matter how, if you even have the right stuff, if you have one thing wrong, you get the entire question for it. It's so bad. But yeah, pretty much it. So yeah, that is it. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Another stream? Oh, another person joined. Yeah, I was about to wrap up. I still need to brush my teeth and go to sleep. It's almost 11. I know a lot of streamers will like stay up past 12 and midnight or whatever. I'm unfortunately still in school, so yeah. But yeah, you can review the VOD. It's gonna stay on my channel for as long as you want on like Twitch, which will expire in like 2 weeks or something. So, well, for me, I don't know how to configure it yet. But yeah, just review the VOD. I went through a ton of multiple choice, watched Heimlo's history, and I watched and I shared my 6 out of 6 LEQ, so you guys can study up on that before the AP test. Oh, also, I heard that supplantation is coming back. Not gonna lie, I don't remember trying any supplantation. So when I talk about it with my friends, I just nod my head and say, yeah, okay, cool. The only thing I remember is that their mac and cheese is really good. So maybe once, because they're gonna open on the 4th of July. So maybe I can try it then. Yeah, maybe someone can take me. Not as a date, of course, but like someone take me. Cause yeah. So again, VOD's up, supplantation is coming back, and I'm gonna head out. So thank you guys all for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, maybe, hopefully.